Well, what's going on, Buckeye Nation? Peter and Rob back with you for another week, dissecting, of course, Ohio State, the win over Marshall, 49-14. We got through the bye week. We endured it. Of course, we enjoyed all the 6 upsets that happened last weekend. But we're here today to talk about the Buckeyes win over Marshall. Rob, just give me your overall general impressions of the victory that became satisfying, but first half was a little frustrating, right?
Yeah, the first half was pretty frustrating. The defense looked like they were asleep. They gave they kept giving up third and shorts. They let Marshall's quarterback do a good amount of the work. He was the one who was able to convert those third and shorts through runs and even made some long runs. The receivers were for Marshall, they weren't average, they were good, and they were able to get some separations from the secondary. Um, I mean, I think they made the most plays on Jordan Hancock,
Mhm.
but that was the first touchdown that they got was a receiving touchdown. It seemed like in the first half that they didn't have a problem driving the ball down the field. They were in scoring position a good amount of the time.
Yeah,
But they just luckily they couldn't really convert those into points. But the offense, like usual, like they took care of business.
yeah,
Mekabuka really showed up. Junkins just had a complete monster game. Howard, he makes good decisions, but there's this one mishap where I don't think him and JJ Smith were on the same page. And
right.
I think the ball was intended to go to Mekabuka, but you know, he just Howard just assumed that Smith was going to look back for the ball and know it was coming
Yeah,
to him, and it ended up getting picked off. That's the only complaints that I have from Howard. That ball was accurate though, and
yeah,
if JJ Smith was knew the ball was coming to him and even you know looked up, I think he would have jumped up and got that. But most of my complaints in the first half were about the defense. It
sure.
took them a while to wake up, and after looking at the stats, one player who just I don't I'm about ready to give up on this one player
Who
who
might that
just
be?
JT Tumaloa. He only had two tackles.
Yeah, he wasn't visible, was he?
No, a good amount of the time when that quarterback was able to get those yards for the first down, that was on his side. It's like
Mhm.
it looks like he's just going through the motions and not really playing with the purpose. It's kind of sad because if you think about his recruitment process, Day really rolled out the red carpet. He greeted them and pretty much Hawaiian shirt and
Yeah,
uh, pretty much a luau at that point. Rolled out the red carpet for this guy, and I'll go back. He hasn't really shown up for since the Penn State game. Now the NFL is still high on him because of a potential. Maybe this just isn't the right system for him. But if you look at the player who plays on the other side, Sawyer, the one
hmm,
thing that worked for him is he lost weight. He's
no,
faster. He's jacked. Like
yeah,
it going from what 275 to 255. That's a big difference. JT Tumalala is like 280, 285. He's too big for the edge position, but two tackles just not going to get the job done. What I looked at the stats. Lathan Ransom was everywhere.
he's a
Um,
monster.
yeah. Styles. I know. Our buddy Crawford said that
Hmm.
he's like saying Everell Reese could be a better fit, but Styles has
Possibly.
experience. He's really athletic, and
Well,
I think he's really gonna. He needs some more time to really mold into that linebacker position. It's kind of foreign to him, but he's making up for it with his athleticism and
he is. I noticed. Yeah, 11 Warriors actually critiqued his play quite a bit too. Now the interesting thing is he had 7 tackles, so he was second on the team in tackles yesterday in the performance. But they cited, and Matt did as well, that he took several poor angles, and so um, he does have experience on the field, but it's definitely a new position, and it's quite obvious there's a learning curve for him at this new position. But I'm encouraged by his athleticism. And then the other linebacker position, they noted Simon was still kind of struggling in coverage, just kind of like our linebackers last season. Did you notice that perhaps yesterday as well? Or, I
You
mean,
know,
their quarterback was 16 of 21. Like, clearly he was finding holes in our zone and in our defense.
yeah, and a lot of those, here's the thing, a lot of those passes, they were on the outside though.
Mm-hmm.
They were really
Mm-hmm.
working Hancock. Again,
Yeah,
like those receivers had kind of had their way for a while.
they
But
certainly did.
I yeah, honestly, like I wasn't really looking at the linebacker position.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm more looking at the defensive line, the
Yeah.
edges, getting pressure and converting that pressure into sacks because that's what's been lacking. And
Yeah.
I'm sadly just not seeing it. I don't know what's
We
happening.
didn't have a single sack versus Marshall yesterday, by the way.
And that's a problem because the quarterback for Marshall is averages best. When they go into
Yeah.
Eugene and they go against Dylan Gabriel, like you can't give him that time or else it's gonna be a long day.
Here's a question I have for you regarding the defense. I noticed multiple times yesterday Jack Sawyer was standing up at the defensive end position again. And that kind of irked me a little bit because he's proven through the first 2 games of this season and the bowl game last year versus Mizzou that when he puts his hand in the dirt, he's a really effective pass rusher. And so to see him standing up multiple times on the edge kind of annoyed me because that's where he struggled as a freshman a couple of years ago. And so I'm not sure how they're trying to use our defensive ends and our edges in this scheme. We talked a lot about it this offseason, and it seems like it's not a defensive end stat producing machine type of defense, the 4-2-5. It just kind of seems that way.
Yeah, and if you go back to 2022,
Mhm.
standing up and kind of just rushing, and that's the jack position.
Yeah.
That's not the D position. That's a jack position. And, I've noticed that Sawyer does a lot better in terms of rushing when he's got his hands in the dirt.
Yep.
They're not letting him work to his strengths. I mean, this is
Agreed.
they want these ends to stay home and not create this big lane.
Well, as we've discussed previously, I fully agree with your point, and it seems like there's no urgency to get to the quarterback. Now, Sawyer, his first 2 games were really disruptive, and he was wreaking havoc in the backfield. But I'm not seeing these swim moves. I'm not seeing these spin moves. I see specifically from JTT the stand up and hold your offensive tackle and just push him backwards, a bull rush, not a freaking any urgency to get it's more of like a contained thing instead of get to the quarterback and cause
Oh,
havoc.
oh yeah, definitely. So pretty much they're saying, okay, going to the offensive lineman, wait to see which way the ball is going, stay home. It's kind of like you're waiting for the play to develop to see if the running back's gonna run. I mean, no, the quarterback's gonna run. And just like kind of just holding your position at the last minute, you're gonna shed your blocker and you're gonna make the tackle. Like
Right.
you can't. That's just that's not gonna work against an Oregon or a Penn State
Mm-hmm.
or who knows? Maybe Michigan bails on Orgy and Warren, and they let the young gun Davis start, and who knows? Maybe
Or
he'll
Jaden.
produce. Yeah.
It's
Jaden
possible,
Davis,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
there is like a learning curve for us Buckeye fans with this 4-2-5 defense. I mean, we've all of our life we've played the 4-3 defense, and so I must say that the Bosa's and the Chase Youngs of the world would not have come to Columbus in a 4-2-5 scheme. Now, I understand most defenses in college now and in the NFL are running a 4-2-5. I get that. I mean, even Wisconsin is, but it's just like we're not getting that kind of production out of the edge positions. And to get Edric Houston, like we did in this last class, I was obviously very thankful, a 5-star edge player, but I mean, I don't know if we're going to have too many more 5-star defensive ends rolling into Columbus. Just if I'm being completely honest.
I mean, I think when Dylan Stewart flipped to South Carolina and he gave his reason, the writing was on the wall with that. And this is a quote for him. He said that I was unsure of my role in Jim Knowles' defense. He didn't exactly tell me what I would be doing. Rather, you've seen South Carolina, he's got his hands in the dirt. He knows exactly what he's doing each play, and he's doing well. He's doing better than like a lot of DNs in college.
He's wreaking havoc for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely wreaking havoc. So that was a big miss. So I think I think that I guess Knowles wants to run this pro scheme, but is it a good fit?
I mean, numbers wise, it produced, but in the big games, it wasn't quite as effective as we had hoped. We're going to find out because 3 games in, obviously, it stepped all over the ponies. We faced. We didn't allow an offensive touchdown until this game, of course, where we allowed 2. And then their quarterback went out. This is, by the way, the second quarterback that we've not allowed to finish the game. We've injured them before leaving, before the end of the game. Western Michigan's QB was the only one that finished the game. But I don't know. We're gonna have to see when we face some better defenses because it could be the same old story again. And I don't want to dwell on that. I hope it doesn't. But
No.
we're gonna be tested because. I mean, Marshall's attack was totally different when Stone went out of the game. Like, they could do nothing with Braxton. They had 203 yards in the first half and only 61 yards in the second half. Like, it would have been interesting to see if Marshall would have kept scoring if Earl Stone had been able to stay in the game.
Yeah, and here's you know what, and Ohio State fans may laugh at me for saying this if they're whoever watches this may laugh at me for saying this, but I think that Michigan State could they could really give Ohio State a little bit of trouble for about 2.5 quarters. And if you look at Aiden Childs, he's a very mobile quarterback. And if you give him time back there, and they don't have they have some pretty good receivers. I mean, they were playing head to head, toe to toe with Boston College. Boston College is looking pretty good this season. That
was an entertaining game.
Yeah, didn't they lose? Actually, wait, no. Yeah, Michigan State lost.
Yeah, they lost the game. Yep.
So
Aiden Childs threw a couple interceptions. Yeah.
Yeah, and kind of on a tangent, I had no idea what he was doing. There was like a minute 15 left or
my
so.
God.
They were driving down the field with those,
Yeah.
short dump passes,
Yep.
and then all of a sudden he feels the need to throw it when there's 2 defenders, like literally swarming the wide receiver and the back of the end zone. He doesn't need to do that. He lost in the game. So what that tells me is if Ohio State can get pressure on him and make him uncomfortable, then it's going to be a long day for them. But if we're going with this, let's just engage in the offensive tackle, and wait and shed the block at the last second. They could give us some trouble. They really could. If you really,
well, it's going to be really good. It's going to be really good preparation to face a dual threat quarterback like Dylan Gabriel. Now, obviously, Childs isn't as good and experienced as Gabriel. He makes some inconsistent throws and he makes some really great throws at times. But to have that dual threat ability before we face Dylan Gabriel is going to give us some good practice. And I bet you Air Noland will be the one running the scout team offense this weekend. Or this week, I mean. in preparation for trials because he's definitely our most athletic quarterback. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, before we move over to the offense, give us your defensive buck of the week. Who was a standout performer in a decent to okay performance for the Buckeye defense?
Man, so I can't believe never thought I'd be going with this. Maybe I'm just not giving the guy enough credit. I'm gonna have to
I
go
don't
with
think so.
I'm gonna have to go with Lathan Ransom. He had 9 tackles. He was all over the field. He's really improved. Now, before I say, I'm completely sold on him, I want to I want to see what he'll do in the first big
Mm-hmm.
game. And then if he produces these, he doesn't have to produce like these like big stats, but if he plays a good solid game, I'll be sold on Ransom. I'll be like, you know what, I was wrong.
Yeah, he's won my defensive buck of the week for 2 out of the first 3 games this season. In my estimation, I think he's been our best defensive player so far this season. And so props to him, put in the work, studied film, and he's healthy again, which is good. And he's performing at an elite level. So Lathan Ransom is my pick as well for the buck of the week. Now, offensively, man, we absolutely dominated. I mean, offensively, they could do nothing. Obviously, like you said, Marshall marched right down the field, right? And then we get the Emeka Ibuka 68-yard touchdown play on the second play of the drive. Quinshon Judkins had a big day, 173 yards, 2 touchdowns. Emeka Ibuka had his way with with the defense of Marshall. 117 yards. I mean, it was a thorough offensive performance. 500 and something yards offensively, 289 rushing, 289 passing, 280 rushing, bro. Complete and total balance on that side of the football, and that's what I expected to see under Chip Kelly offense this season. And I hope that will continue. Obviously, we're not going to be able to put up 570 whatever yards we did every week, but to see that kind of balance is really encouraging. Um, one, yeah, like you said, Will Howard played well. He had that one throw to JJ where I thought he determined pre-snap where he was going with the football, and because he took the drop back and immediately threw it like
Yeah.
without looking at anybody else. And so I think that I watched it like 4 or 5 times, and that was my estimation of what happened on that play. I think he's seen JJ make enough plays in practice where he thinks he's going to make a play there. Um, and obviously he didn't. But I mean, the blanket cover is there. It was an accurate throw. He was just completely blanketed and not open at all. So,
Yeah, man, right after gosh, I think it was when man, I'm trying to think. So there were 2 people in the how Peter, were you what, like, so there were 2 people in the, it looked like they were not even with the line, and so
oh
there
yeah,
there was a
mm-hmm.
penalty. Were they going for it on 4th down, or was that a punt?
That's a very funky punt formation. And
Yeah, so
he
gosh.
bailed us out of the Brandon in his fumble. Yeah.
That's
Hey,
right,
and
and
we'll
then
get to
literally
this in
the
a second.
and literally the next play when they got in the field, Juggins took it for
Crenshaw,
86 yards,
86 yards to the house, baby.
dude, 86 yards to the house. That dude is, like, it's becoming clear who is the emerging back and who's just there to, you know, keep him rested and give him a breather. I mean,
Yeah, we both
Quishon
predicted
Junkins
this would
is
happen.
Yeah, is the Quishon Junkins is the alpha, and you know, Henderson is
I mean, he's
he's
playing well too.
yeah,
Don't
he's
dog
playing
him.
well.
He got
No,
2 touchdowns himself yesterday.
he's playing well. It's not like Michigan where there's
Right.
Mullings and then there's
Mullins and no one.
and literally no one.
Yeah, no,
Um,
but you're right though. To your point, Quinshon is, in my estimation, RB1 for sure in both
yeah,
carries and just production. So yeah, I
yeah.
agree with you on that.
But I think Abuka really stepped up this game.
Mm-hmm.
He had an okay first 2 games. It was
Right.
all JJ Smith the first 2. He took over, and I hope he shows up in big ways consistently. I know he was injured
Sure.
like good amount last season. You know, he if he wasn't, I think he would have been drafted first round, but you know,
Yeah.
injuries like made his stock fall. So he's come back for one more year to get his draft stock up. Beat Michigan, win a Big Ten title, and win national championship. So,
Yeah.
you know, I hope that he really has a turnaround season, and you know
Well,
that performance that we saw yesterday continues.
well, it's great to see, man, because yeah, like his first two performances definitely got overshadowed by JJ. He still played well, and I mean, I think he led the team in receptions all three games so far. But in terms of production for yards and touchdowns, this was the first touchdown today, and so it's cool, man. He's actually on pace to become the all-time leading receiver at Ohio State. He is on pace for that, like we talked about at the beginning of the season. So that's exciting to see. Had 117, like I said, first touchdown yesterday. The offense is clicking on all the cylinders. There's nothing, that I would tweak. I just want to see it against better defenses, and we're going to see that versus Iowa. Certainly, I'm not so sure about Michigan State's defense just yet. I've watched them here and there in the first four contests, but we're definitely going to test versus the Hawkeyes and, of course, versus the Ducks as well. But special teams, before we wrap this video up, man, we're Buckeye fans, so we nitpick things. Like we spent 15 minutes nitpicking the defense. We have to talk about the special teams and the blunders, not just in the kicking game, or on the kickoffs. We had 3 consecutive kickoffs go out of bounds, but our punting game is still undetermined and is really bad so far in this season. And to be a national title contending team, you have to be elite in all 3 phases of the game. And I didn't realize this, but our punters combined, McGuire and McLarty. McLarty's the freshman from 6'7" guy from Australia. He had a 30-yard punt in the game, and then McGuire had a 25-yard net punt after it went for a touchback. And it's like, dude, you cannot have that in these big games. Like, 1, we needed to determine a punter, and 2, they need to be good.
Say what you want about Michigan right now, but they always have good kickers, good punters. So does Alabama as well.
Frustrating.
So yeah, I mean, like looking at those 3 out of bounds kicks, I'm like, if this happens this could cost them in a big game. I mean, isn't that like 10 yards from the spot?
Oh, I mean, I think it goes out to the 40 already, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I missed the first half, but I mean, yeah, like crazy. I mean, I caught the highlights, and like, you can't have that. I'm sure people were pulling out their hair. I know I was when I heard about it, when we texted about it in the group chat. So
yeah, and
that's got to be fixed. But that seemed like an Urban thing. Like, I've never seen Day kick to the corners like Urban used to do. Like, I'm not sure what the strategy was or what they were trying to do there.
yeah, and another thing, I thought he was gonna get pulled, but I'm glad that the kicker Fielding had redemption. He the first time he went out there in the second half, he
Yeah,
I think it was a touchback. So, but
right.
what's making me I mean that fumble by
Yep.
not Abuga,
Innis,
but
yeah.
by Ennis. I mean, he's lucky he got bailed out, but it
Lucky.
seems like sometimes he's hesitant. Like, should I fair catch it? Should I go field it? And it seems like he's kind of struggling with that aspect because there were times where like he can go up there and fair catch it, but sometimes he lets it bounce and it doesn't go into the end zone.
Yeah,
So
he
and
seems a
and
little unsure out there.
yeah, and the other thing is Jalen, I think Jalen Ballard did that as well whenever he was out there fielding punts.
Yeah, last
So
game, yeah.
that's on special teams
Parker
coaching right
Fleming is
there.
gone, but yet issues persist, and that's really troubling to me as a Buckeye fan. Because we both grew up in the Jim Tressel era, where special teams was almost as important as offense and defense, and it was not really valued under Urban Meyer, and it's clearly not valued under Ryan Day, and that's getting a little frustrating because literally special teams can flip games and cost you games. I mean, if you think back to the 2018 Ohio State Michigan game, Michigan had made it a tight contest again, and then we blocked a punt, and then it was game over from there on out. Momentum was completely ours. The stadium was rocking, and they had no chance, and it ended up being 62-39. And special teams is the one that flipped that game. And so I want to see better. I'm just being honest. Like, I know we're harping a lot on things. It was a 49-14 win. We get that. We are satisfied, but we want things to look better against these scrub teams.
Yeah, definitely. You can't have any sloppy play. I mean, in any aspects. I mean, if you're doing sloppy play against the scrub teams, just be lucky that they're scrub teams and there's a big talent gap, and you can make up for that sloppy play at times. But when you get to the Oregons, the Penn States, possibly, you know what, possibly Nebraska,
Potentially.
and
Potentially.
Michigan as well. I mean, there's no room for error, and when they get to the playoffs, so
Yep.
it's time to clean up the past costly mistakes. I mean, again, you're right. Parker Fleming is gone, but the inconsistencies on special teams continue, and that could be a problem in the long run. Again, especially with the kicker. Like if you're trying to do the corner kicks,
Yeah.
and your kicker clearly couldn't. Once your kicker can't do it after one try or two tries, why go for a third try? It's
I
not
was
going to happen
surprised.
at that point. That's not the type of kicker you have.
I was
So
surprised. And now we didn't see a field goal kick itself yesterday for Ohio State, but just to kind of like hammer home this point, like Jaden Fielding, I was really surprised we didn't go after a kicker in the portal this year. He is very consistent, almost automatic from 40 to 45 yards in. In fact, I think he was perfect inside 45 yards last year. But every kick longer than, I think he made 1 of 6 last year for longer than 45. And it was clear to me, at least, we needed a kicker that had a leg. Now, I know as a Buckeye fans, we want to stick it in the end zone every time, but that's not realistic. And it's cost us in big games, notably the Georgia game, of course. But I was really discouraged we didn't get a kicker. And that hurt, because to see Michigan go get the Lou Groza winner, or I'm sorry, the Lou Groza a finalist, Arkansas State's kicker, and he's killing it for them. And then to see Miami, Ohio's kicker go to Bama instead of to Ohio State, dude, I was furious. So anyway, I know it's special teams, it's kicking. It's not all that interesting per se, but to me, it's a vital part of the football game. It's 3 phases, and we seem to be lacking severely in one phase. So
yeah.
I want to see
All,
things cleaned up.
yeah. All right. So offensive buck of the
Yes,
week.
sir. Who you got for offensive play of the week?
I have Emeka Ibuka.
Come on.
He had 14. I think he had 14 receptions for 117 yards. I'm pretty
I think he
sure.
has 14 on the season, but yeah, he did have
Oh,
117 yesterday. Yep.
yeah. Yeah. But I think it was like 23 yards per reception.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yep.
So
And
I
so
think I
he
think
was
he had
dominant.
like 6, 7 receptions. I know the math doesn't line up with that, so I'm
You're
just
good.
I'm just going based on the average. So
Yeah, he was reliable for us yesterday for sure. For me, I'm going with Quinshawn Judkins. He was the fuel of the offense. He had 173 yards rushing, 2 tutties. Of course, the highlight reel play, the 86-yard touchdown scamper. But the Buckeyes were just elite on the ground altogether. I mean, Henderson had a day, Judkins had a day, but Judkins gets the book of the week offensively for me this week. And so, man, good things are behind us. There are some things that we got better at, but to me, it seems like out of improvement week, under Ryan Day at least, we have always struggled in the first half of games. That seems to be a theme under Ryan Day. I'm not sure why that is, but I've noticed that throughout his tenure at Ohio State. And so that is a bit concerning, because we obviously have 2 buys every year now, and we could potentially face a big dog in the future coming off of a bye. You can't have a bad half versus big dogs. So something to keep your eye on. But overall, Buckeyes are 3-0. We enter conference play now. We go on our first road trip here in the Mitten State to East Lansing, take on the Spartans next weekend. It should be an interesting contest trying to contain Aidan Childs. But I'm glad Big Ten plays here because that was a snooze fest of a non-con schedule.
Yeah, I think the saying is the best thing about being 3-0 is having the chance to go 4-0. Is that the saying?
That's it.
Yep, that's it. But yeah, we'll make more of a prediction for the Michigan State game on Thursday. But again, like this one, the quarterback dynamics is different. The wide receivers are better. The defense looks pretty stout, but it looks like Aidan Childs is not that. He's good, but he's not consistent. And it seems like when he's flustered and has to be flushed out of the pocket, that's when he makes the most mistakes. So again, like Knowles needs to drop a plan where they need to put a spy on Childs, but he needs to get the defensive ends, the edges, just going after him, playing out of their minds.
For sure. Wreak some havoc and cause some havoc in the backfield and get his timing off and his rhythm off. Yeah, we'll be breaking down that and more on Wednesday. We'll talk about the Michigan State Boston College game. We'll be just reviewing the weekend that was for Big Ten action. Of course, the USC Michigan game was a barn burner. Not sure how the Wolverines won, but hats off to them with 32 yards passing, a record for a win since 1987. Unbelievable that they pulled off that contest, but they're victorious, and we're definitely going to break that down in detail on Wednesday. But tomorrow night, if you're on YouTube, join us on the Pigskin Showdown and Big Ten Team Rivalry Show. Both Rob and I will be picking some games for all the Big Ten games upcoming this weekend. But
our show is actually Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, you see it streaming down there. Yep.
Yeah, but wait, you said we're gonna be breaking down the Michigan USC game.
Yeah, the Big Ten roundup on Wednesday. Yep.
That was.
We'll talk about that in another video.
Talk about it.
We'll definitely break it down on Wednesday for you on another vid. But yeah, we will see you guys on the next one. Go Bucks and God bless. That's it for this one.
Go Bucks. OH.
I-O.